See. How do I? It only went. Okay, we are. Wow, we're live now. I but it's only live on a few. One moment. Let me. We're having some technical difficulties. If you're still there, just joined us.
Yeah, it literally went live for no, that's something else. That's your posting, but it's definitely not
Oh,
live
it
on.
says Facebook deleted the post. What?
Why?
I don't know. On all of them. There's there's 5. Yeah. It is it's only live on my YouTube um right now, and but it won't let me post to anything on Facebook, I guess. Nothing on Facebook.
Wow, that's weird.
Do we say something? I don't think we said anything to get banned. I don't know. I don't know how that
No, I
works.
don't think so. I didn't say anything. There, let me see something. Let me see something. I'm going to take a look at the notifications.
So if y'all
Uh,
are listening, I apologize. Brian and I have actually been talking for an hour now. And
actually,
well, like, yeah,
30
30,
minutes.
40 minutes. Was it
Yeah,
8:30 we went on?
yeah.
So, and between glitches before that, there's been something going on behind him, all kinds of activity. Um, in sync, which is funny because if that wasn't recorded, then you can't go back and look at all that was happening on the screen, which sucks because
Yeah.
it was exactly in sync with what you were saying at the time. Um, so I'll have to look into that. It might have recorded it on my Facebook, but there's no,
There's
or
nothing
not
on
my
my end.
Facebook. My there's
Yeah.
It might have recorded on my YouTube. I apologize. There's
Yeah.
no Facebook. So
Yeah, there's nothing in my notifications saying anything about a stop video.
wow. So I don't know.
Is that possible? They can
I
actually literally go through my end to your end to
Oh yeah,
stop
they can
everything.
do, yeah, absolutely. I mean, internet has made any all of that possible. They can go through satellites to ping over here. Shoot.
So I guess we're starting again.
Oh my God. What is and we knew this was going to happen too, because I said that.
Yeah.
I said I have never been kicked off. Um, it's all of a sudden at the beginning. So, well, man, if you are still with us and just joined again, Brian was telling us about his childhood and how he got into paranormal and everything, and the big importance of all of this is how he started. He's the owner and founder of PARAPOST Network and the Global Ghost Hunt, and what he's doing with those things, because I think that's extremely important. For people to kind of know the why behind that, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, on both of those, and then as well as your other ventures right now,
Yeah.
since they don't
So what do
like
you
us
want
talking about ghosts,
to
apparently.
So what do you want to start with first?
Well, which one
Why
did you
don't I
start with first in your line?
Yeah, yeah, well, I can get in the story. I could tell the story again on how, why
If you'd
and how
like,
it
it would
all
be interesting
started.
to
Yeah,
see
for
if that
sure.
would happen again and if we get kicked
Yeah,
off again.
definitely interesting. So basically, I started seeing things when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and yeah, it is starting again. By the way, so
They don't want
yeah,
you to. Oh my gosh! Did you just see that? Wait, it was this way behind me.
no, I
Anyways,
was looking
carry
down.
on.
Uh, so it started about, like I said, about 8 or 9 years old. I started seeing things other kids couldn't see, or whoever. I would see something and I would say something, and somebody would say, "No, it's not there. There's nothing there." And the exact same thing with my family as well. I'd be seeing things, and they would either think that I was making it up or there was really nothing there and my eyes were playing tricks on me. I definitely had the type of family that were non-believers, that didn't believe in it, and anybody that was able to do that, they belonged in a nut house, basically. So I don't like to use that term, but I'm going to use that term anyway. So they belong in a home. How about that? I'll say that. So really, that happened a lot, and I was seeing it all the time. And I guess um, uh, my very first experience on being touched, I was about 15 years old. I had a friend that his grandmother passed away, so about 3 weeks after she passed away, I went down to his place and, just to see how he was doing. And we went downstairs to his bedroom and we were sitting there talking. And then all of a sudden I felt like what was a hand, it touched my wrist. And then it like a head lean against my shoulder. That's what it felt like. And while that was happening, I looked over and there was an actual indent in the bed, like somebody was sitting beside me. And really, it only lasted for about 30 seconds and then was gone. um, Now, in that particular moment, I know a lot of paranormal investigators, when they get touched, it's usually a cold feeling. This was a very warm, loving feeling. So it was definitely different. But during that time as well, as I said, there was an actual indent in the bed when I looked to the right, and I actually told my friend that there's something touching me and there's something sitting beside me, and he thought I was nuts. He looked over and there was the actual indent in the bed, like somebody was sitting there. So that was really my first experience on being touched. But like I said before, like back in those days, that there wasn't a lot of information, and like I said, we didn't have Google, we didn't have internet, we didn't have any of those things. So so I was really fascinated, and I really tried to discover on what I had. And obviously I determined that I had sensitive abilities. And so as I got older, um, because I was seeing it so much, I started to ignore it. I started not listening to it, or not listening to it, but not looking at it, because when I see something, I can't see facial features, I can't really hear them. And but so when I see something, just to explain to your audience, um, it's usually a black mass, and it's solid for when it's a spirit, and I can tell if it's a woman or a man just by feeling. But like I said earlier, I can't usually see facial features or I can't hear them. But when I see something on the negative side or the demonic side, it's usually a translucent black smoke that moves around a room very, very slowly. So that's what I see. So as I was getting older, I just became a real fan of it. I wasn't really involved in any kind of investigations or anything like that till about 10 years ago, when I did my very first investigation with a local group here. And so growing up, I just learned how to ignore it and not look at it and pretend it wasn't there. And again, it's because I had a family that were non-believers, and the last thing I want them to know that I was able to see these spirits, and for them not to think I was crazy and making it up. So it's about 10 years. Yeah, it was about 10 years ago when I first got into my very, very first paranormal investigation. So that's how it all began, really. What's
I'm
going on?
here. Oh no, I'm here. I was making sure, but I was listening to W on YouTube because I was trying to put that on the Parapost page.
Oh, okay. You know what you're going to have to do? You're just going to have to go back and put the link on the Parapost page so people can
Right.
go over and
That's
watch
what
it. Yeah.
I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So while you were retelling that story, though, an interesting thing, like I've never had this happen. I've talked to a lot of people who, online in interviews and such, who have had things literally draw me in and take over, and I'll start channeling and stuff. But
Mm,
this was like an older man's face. They literally looked like it was coming out of my screen, and I've never had that happen. And then right after that, there was like a little tiny gnat. I don't even know what kind of bug that was. That looked like it crawled out of my monitor. So
Well, apparently all kinds of things are
so,
happening tonight. So,
but that's not normal, Brian. That's
no,
I mean,
I would
even
definitely
as long
say
as I've been
no.
I've been, seeing dead people also for like 41 years, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't happen. That doesn't-
And it's interesting because I don't know why I've never been able to turn it off and turn it on. It just happens.
I can't either. I can't either. I know. Well, I take that back. Well, no, I was never really able to turn it off. I did run from that whole, I was like you. I tried to ignore it, push it away. They don't go away. They don't turn off. They don't. What is happening to? Oh my gosh. Is that a siren in your
Yes,
back?
it's outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on my screen, take a screenshot of this just so y'all, believe me. Um, uh, um, like an ad popped up. Not even an ad. It's like my start menu popped up with a police car on it that says "Fatal Crash: Southwest Man Killed Rollover Crash."
Oh, wow. Interesting.
What is happening? This always happens when you when I talk, or I'll be like driving over the same bridge, or I just,
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know what's going on. I know we've had several conversations and a lot of different things have happened and a
Yeah.
lot of I'm not a big believer in coincidences and
No, no, I don't believe in coincidences.
there's always something strange, and like if I'm saying something, I think we were talking one time, we were talking about the bridge,
Yep.
and then for some reason I called it Sewell's Bridge, and then something was related to you over there about Sewell. What
Yeah,
was
I
that
was
again?
like, Wait, 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 what did you say?" And I'm like, "I just drove over a bridge by that name." Exact same name.
Mm.
And the power went out in half my city right after that.
Yes, I remember. Oh, yes, that's correct. I remember
Yeah.
you talking about that.
Yeah.
That was interesting. There
Like
seems to
literally
be
right over
a,
the bridge.
I like, yeah, I think you've mentioned it before. There seems to be some kind of correlation between what's going on with you, what's going on with me, and
Yeah.
it's just there's something in sync there. That's weird.
Oh, and I get these calls randomly, like at 2, 3 in the morning from
It's not me.
Ontario, Canada. No, for people requesting a cab, um,
What is going on?
which is interesting. Like all of them, it's different people, obviously, like different numbers, and they call me in the middle of the night and want a cab. And this just started. I mean, that just started happening like um I don't know, like a month or two ago. I mean, I've had the same number
Which is
for a long time.
basically kind of when we met.
But I have the same number apparently as a cab company in Canada. It's just the prefix is like one off or something.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
You'll have to
I'm gonna
send
have
it
to
me.
look up the cab company.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was gonna say send me the number. Well, I already
Yeah.
have your number, but I'm gonna take a look at the number and see if it's similar. Are they actually saying the cab company?
No, they'll just, I'll pick up just because sometimes you get messages like that. I don't know if people know that, but as far as mediums go, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. So even um well, I do have like call filter, spam filter, whatever on my phone. But if a call should happen to get through that, then I take it as it's out. There it is again.
What is going on? Like I'm on the 29th floor. I usually don't hear that stuff.
That one's a lot louder than the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe it's your accident thing that popped up there. And look, listen, it just stopped. It's not like it's getting a distance and you can hear in the distance. It just stops. So it must be around here somewhere that
Okay, I gotta think.
maybe the accident.
So on Easter, which so that would have been April,
Okay.
I was driving and I all of a sudden had this whole channeling thing that I recorded. I put on put on one of my YouTube channels about a yellow cab and a car accident or some sort of accident happening involving a yellow cab and but I thought I said South Dakota. So,
I think I remember this story.
yeah.
I think you told me this
Um
story over Messenger, I think.
because that's the first thing I thought of when this cab company, people are calling me for this cab company. But no, they don't ever mention the cab company. I'll answer and they'll be like, "Hey, yeah, I need a ride to blah blah blah." And I should start writing down like where they're going.
Yeah,
Like
that
maybe that's relevant because it doesn't happen all the time. It's just it's once in a while, but it's interesting.
it is. It is. So yeah, so getting back to the story there, I just
We literally
y-
keep getting distracted with
yeah, exactly. And yeah, so and like I was saying earlier, my very first investigation, and like I said, I was literally thrown into the fire of this investigation that I did for the very first, for my very first investigation. I think for what was going on in this house, probably would turn off most people from doing it, knowing what was going on there. And but these people were experiencing, just crazy, crazy things in their home. Like, the kids were being scratched and toys were being thrown, chairs were moving, plates were being thrown, knives were being thrown. It was just all kinds of different things. And they were seeing things and hearing things. So when when I walked up to the front door, when I was going up to the steps, there was just a real bad feeling that I had. It was like I said earlier, it was almost like it was fear that I was feeling. And I questioned that because I don't know if it was the fear I was feeling or the fear the family was feeling. And I thought that was really interesting. But when I walked into the house, there it was on the left hand side in the room, and it was circling the room like it owned the room.
gosh.
And what's wrong?
You froze right before you said that.
Oh, really? So, so okay, what's going on here? Like, maybe we should just shut this down and do it another night. It's
Every time you talk about, but it's fine if we're talking about something else. It just doesn't want you talking about that's crazy.
yeah. So, like I said, so it was basically circling the room, and like I said, like I always find it really interesting because I always say this, and during the investigation, like 20-25 minutes in, I basically turned to one of the guys and said, "How long do we stay here for?" Because I really wanted to leave, and I didn't
Oh,
go back. They went back 2 or 3 other times, and unfortunately, the family ended up moving and selling the
huh.
house. And I don't know what ever happened to the house. And to be honest, I didn't really look in the history of it and stuff like that. And looking back, maybe I should have. But it was definitely a very interesting first investigation that I ever did.
I I don't even know what to. When you said how long should I stay here, I heard forever. So, but like in a really deep, I don't know.
Was there was
That's.
again?
But I'm wondering, since that was so long ago, and this is still. Do you think that you still have an attachment from that? That's
No,
posing as the
m-
little girl?
maybe, maybe I don't
Because
know. I'm
there are
I'm
so many that mimic a little girl for whatever
Yeah,
because
yeah, and I get that
that's people are like
because I've
are
lived
more
at certain
receptive.
places where it wasn't happening. And then I would live at a place where that not like I've been here since the beginning of June. The place before there was nothing there. But the place before that there was something. And uh the it was a woman for sure. And I figured it was the woman that lived before I actually moved to that place. I heard there was a woman that passed away next door, and she fell down the
Mm.
stairs, and unfortunately, died from that fall. So I always figured it was
Well,
that woman. So
but the thing is, like, if you talk about the D word, which I don't like to
yeah, I
use
don't
just like
like it
you, just
either.
because it gives them more power. But
Yeah.
they're like, they have all the time in the world. I mean, eternity. So they, I've ran into quite a few cases where they leave the person alone for a few years or whatever. And and then just something triggers it and they come back into that person's life. Um, so when people say, when going back to things, when people say that, they had an exorcism or did this or did that or whatever ritual they believed in, and got rid of this attachment. Um, when it happens that they come back, it's something that's a much deeper rooted cause. Like, for instance, that specific entity may have been attached to their family line for generations. So it's hard, it's not like you can just do one thing and get rid of it. You know what I mean? Because it's like rooted in your literal DNA, for that matter. It's been
Mm.
passed on down through the family. Like, it's almost like that specific demon was assigned to that family or whatever. And I've seen that. I haven't seen it very often. um, and for that matter, it would take someone who's um, very strong in the paranormal or spiritual, to where it wouldn't affect, like they don't have that much effect as they would a person who's not, I guess, because they could do things
Mm.
that would make that person go crazy or you know cause a lot of fear and such.
Yeah, I used to, there was the woman that I used to date, this is going back years ago, and she was a Wicca. And she always said that our relationship would never work out because I was considered a white light. So I was
Right.
really protected.
Hmm.
And with her being a Wicca, unfortunately, she always put herself in a situation where she would do a protective spell and then it would come back tenfold on her.
Hmm.
And she was always fighting the battle of whatever she was doing, and it was just really, really strange experience in my life when I was with her because of what she was doing.
Right.
She did a lot of protective spells against somebody. For example, there was a situation where a friend of hers in the state or in California, her daughter got jumped, got assaulted. So she did a protective spell. And unfortunately, the next day, the whole house was a disaster. Like somebody came in and tore it apart.
Yeah.
And it was neither her or me that did that. And it was really interesting because, and some people might not find this interesting, but she went even as far as breaking a glass and cutting her wrists to do these spells.
No, no, no. See, that if you want to summon a demon, people, that's that'd be how you do it.
Oh, and there was
Like,
one time she went so deep it didn't her
no.
arm didn't even bleed. And that was a scary
Oh, and
moment for me.
man, I got like chills
And
up my
yeah,
eyes twitching.
and the cut was so deep she didn't even bleed. That was a really, really scary moment for me, and I really had to rethink the relationship after that one. And we ended up breaking up not too long after that
On
incident.
good terms?
Um, uh, yeah, I would
I
say,
just saw
well,
like runes floating around, like sigils floating around your head. So that's why
well,
I'm
the thing
asking.
is, like, I was here in Canada, and she lived in North Carolina. So it was a long distance relationship. It was never ever
Right.
going to work anyways. I find that most long distance relationships don't work. But after that experience, I pretty well left about I think it was 2 days later I left, and I basically said that, I can't do this, and she was right, and she was a Wicca, I was a white light, and
Yeah.
it was never ever going to work. So.
So not only that, but when people start practicing, magic and such, um, and I was never. I mean, I've been that person who didn't know what I was doing way back in the day, but I was too afraid to do anything, I guess, ancient based, because what happens, as with anything, any ritual, any religion, any civilization, anything, hieroglyphics, I don't care what you're talking about. Modern day, we tend to translate it completely wrong. It's like Americans going, and I saw this a lot when I lived in Japan. Americans going to Japan and getting a kanji tattoo, thinking it means one thing, and it means
Mm,
something totally opposite. It's similar to that. And so um it's a dangerous thing, and people don't realize that it is 100%. um you might not think it's doing anything, when people cast these spells or whatever that they don't know anything about, or they just go read up on something on the internet, or and they think that they're, I mean, even regardless of their intent, um you have to know a lot about intent, first of all, because
mm.
that's also overpowering somebody's free will and maybe their karma. So when people do that, it's a dangerous thing, it's a dangerous game. um
Yeah, like I said, the relationship didn't last very much longer after that. So, and while you were talking, I will point out that I did see it again, and it was going from here. No, it was going from here. Wait a minute, where am I here? It was going from there to here, or no, the other way. Sorry.
and I'm wondering, and that's what I was saying, to you, for something to be affecting me in that manner as well. That's rare, because I'm used to spirits and demons and aliens and everything else, and they don't
Mm.
usually um I act in that manner or do things like come out of my computer screen and
Yeah, that's weird. The whole night's been weird. I have to be honest.
it's expected. I think everybody that comes on my show that knows it knows
Because
me,
we
they're
were
like,
originally
oh well.
where we were originally supposed to go on at 9, right? Nine
W-
year 9 year time.
well, my show's from 8 to 10
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, okay,
Central
that makes
Time.
sense.
Yeah,
So really, it was starting at 9 for me, going
right.
to 11, and it was starting at 8. But originally, we were supposed to go on at uh, the top of the hour, but we didn't go on till like actually.
Well, and even my producer and I, when we first logged on and came into StreamYard, it literally kicked us both out of the room. Like it just kicked us out. I mean, and that's never, he said that's never happened to him. And I don't think it's ever it was the weirdest thing before you ever got.
Mm.
And so then we had to rewind everything. It's
It
crazy.
happens. It
And
happens. And like we
yeah,
were talking earlier, it's something always happens when we're
that's
talking,
what I'm
and it's
saying. People
weird.
are going to be like, okay, I'm going on Trisha's show. I know that, who was it? It was a few weeks ago. Like, Brad Goss was on, and
Okay.
he comedian, and he said something, and he was just joking, and he's like, yeah, so you talk to dead people. Is it like you're getting messages from God? And he did that, and my lights all started flickering, like right when he said that. Right when he said that, and I'm like, no,
Well,
no.
now you know. Now you know. Yeah,
So
that's funny.
I always think it's funny when the
Yeah.
correlations between um But that brings me to another. So going back to, you mentioned that you have only experienced a few demonic entities in your
Mhm.
entire, well, I guess in this lifetime since you've been
Mm.
seeing
Yeah,
spirits and
since I
investigating and such.
yeah, my very first one I saw was, I was about 18 years old.
Okay. And I want to say for myself, I have only experienced probably maybe like 6 or 7, but I mean, I've lived in some. I think I'm drawn to like extremely haunted houses that I didn't know back then. I didn't know that I was literally being like drawn into, baited
Mm,
into these houses that I lived in. And so and it wasn't just my houses. I mean, this was like in my entire life of communicating with spirits and such. But how many I do think that in the paranormal field, people either go one way or another. So I've had, a lot of the guests that we used to have on chasing, most of them are like, no, no. I would say I've never experienced a demonic entity and nobody really does. They just think it is, and blah blah blah. While I agree with that, um, it's dangerous to assume that because then you go
mm,
to a place and you think that you've cleared it, and like I said, there's things that come back. They might just not be there that day while you're there. You know what I mean? Or they might just because for whatever reason they might not want to deal with somebody um, that has experience maybe clearing the house or things like that. Of course they wouldn't make themselves known, and then they come back even 10 times worse once that team leaves.
mm. Yeah,
um, and that's happened a lot. And so it's
yeah.
dangerous to assume, for investigators to assume that they just don't exist, but it's also on the other hand, um, equally puts fear in people when you say they're all demonic, and all the, so. But how many do you think, knowing what we know now of, like I was saying, of extraterrestrials, how many do you think that happens more often, obviously, than the demonic side?
Are you kind of asking me, does it happen a lot more than paranormal investigators think it does? Is that what you're kind of asking me?
I think
Like,
so. I
y-
think a lot of paranormal investigators don't even consider that.
yeah, I think personally myself, I can only talk about. I don't really want to talk about other paranormal investigators, but for myself personally,
Oh no,
I've seen.
I mean based on the houses and the investigations you've been on.
Yeah, so like I said, I've seen 5 in my lifetime. And the very first one that I saw was 18 years old. And it was at a house that was not too far from where I lived. But I think the problem today is you got these YouTubers that are always talking about demonic every other video that they're doing. And I think
Right.
that's where the real problem starts. Um, because as we know, a lot of these big popular YouTubers are faking their evidence, and it's really not happening. Um, I think I'd like to say that I don't know. I don't even know how to answer this question, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough question to answer for me because I only like to speak about myself, what I've
No, I'm not talking
experienced.
about other people. I'm talking about
Yeah.
in like knowing what we know now because
Okay.
before, so I'll say in my history of investigations and my own experiences and things, knowing what I know now and remember now about abductions and being abducted many times, Now, thinking back in hindsight about the investigations that I have done in the past and all of the experiences I had, I would say like 60% of those, for myself anyways, were more than likely abductions rather than spirits
Okay.
because of um the nature of the things they did, opening and closing a door, moving the like moving the clothes in my sleep, things like that. A lot of different angry voices, like telepathic angry voices. A lot of times, like the reptilian entities will do things like that. The weird demands and such, and random injuries showing up. Those were a lot of those had weren't a spirit at all. Now, what's interesting is spirits would warn me that they were coming.
Mm,
So,
okay.
so no, I'm not asking. I'm saying now that we know more in the ufology field, um, do you think that more off like do you think that that will change the paranormal field as far as how we treat, because you're going to treat uh alien, I guess, experiences
Mm,
much different than you would, because you're not going to get rid of an alien if you try to, ask it to
yeah.
leave like a ghost.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I again, just going back to what I said a few seconds ago, that I think the biggest problem with our industry, when it comes to the paranormal, is all these people that are going out there and thinking more about the money than really about the actual evidence.
yeah,
So if like I said, like YouTubers going out there and faking evidence, I think the biggest problem in our industry is that's happening all the time, and we're not taken seriously because these scientists or whoever they are saying, well, we know you're faking the evidence, so why should we believe that there's paranormal out there? We know, like me
right,
and you both know there's
right,
paranormal out there. We know there's spirits or demonic and stuff like that. But I think like I said, the biggest problem in our industry is those people that are faking the evidence, and it's not helping us at all. Try to really, try to really get our point across that this is real.
right.
This exists, and I'm capturing evidence on these investigations, and I'm showing it to you. I'm providing you this information, but until we get rid of those people that are faking the videos, and I'm just not going to center out YouTube. Like there's a lot of TV shows out there that
Oh,
are
yeah,
faking evidence, and it's
yeah,
not helping us at all. And they're like, I work tirelessly, going out on investigations and capturing this evidence, and then putting these videos together and stuff like that, and showing what I caught. And you got people over here that are going out there and putting a string on a table and, like a fishing wire, and pulling it across the room and saying, oh, good God, like, that table just moved. Well, no, well, moved, but you helped it move. But I think
right.
until we start getting rid of that, we're always going to have that challenge of convincing the people that we need to convince, that this is real. And until that stops, until this TV shows. Now, I understand the TV shows because they do it on their TV and because they wanted the show to continue. They want to
Right.
be picked up for the next season or whatever. And I know some people that have done TV shows and they've actually been told they need to fake the evidence.
Hmm,
So, until we get rid of that, we're never ever going to be taken seriously as paranormal investigators. And I think that's even true on, even Bigfoot or, cryptids and, UFOs.
right.
And there's people out there doing that too. Like I don't know how many videos I've seen where a guy's taking a picture from his phone or a video, and it's not a UFO, but he's saying it is. So until
And
we get rid of it.
the
Until we get
funny
all rid
thing
of those, we're never going to be taken seriously.
Oh,
So,
I agree. And the funny thing is, people who are very authentic about it and real and such, and it like me, if you were to ask me on any given day, hey, anything paranormal happen? And I'd be like, oh, hold on, let me take a picture in my living room, and literally something would something would pop up, you know,
yeah,
and it would be close up. It would be like 100% clear, whatever. But and I have rolls of film and tons. But the thing is, and people would be like, well, why haven't you ever shown anybody? Why haven't you ever? Because I don't have to prove any. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I mean, as far as myself, like in my own home and stuff, I don't have to prove to, um, as far as my abilities, I guess.
mm,
Now, as far as what people don't understand for investigations, there's a much greater purpose. It's not just to get a spirit to perform. It's not like,
mm,
they're not a circus. It's to find out the history and the why and the reason they're there and the reason they're stuck there or the reason they're doing what they're doing. I mean, most people, a lot of these younger, I guess YouTubers and such, they don't. It's just it's a joke, kind of to
yeah.
them, and
Yeah,
so
my tagline is what, and I have a tagline that I use. What lies beyond death,
mhm,
and I'm the type of because I kind of place investigators in three categories. I'm sure you can probably place more, but mine are the uh, the people that want to get the answers. Then you have your hunters that are just hunting for it and they just want to capture it. And then the third one would be the scientific research, the
mhm,
scientists of it. That's the kind of I'm definitely the one that's looking for the answers. I've always wanted to know the answers of why they died or how they died or why they're still here and why haven't you crossed over, what's keeping you, just all kinds of questions that I have. And there's been a lot of times where I've got the answer, and uh, also if the story is true,
right.
because sometimes I think history, um, it's like that. It's like that game that we used to play as a kid when you'd sit in a circle with a bunch of other kids and you would tell a kid sitting beside you, a line, and by the time it got to the other side, it was completely different.
Oh yeah.
And the telephone game, it's basically
Mhm.
called the telephone game, right? So there was an investigation I did down, it's called the Streaming Tunnel, and it has three stories. So I really wanted to find out what the real story was on how this, because like I said, there's three different stories on how this little girl died, in this tunnel. And I did an investigation, so let me tell you the stories. So there's three stories. There's one of a girl and her parents were going through a nasty divorce, and the father set the house on fire. The girl was in the home, and she came down, and she was severely burned in the home, and she came down the tunnel and died. Then there's another story of a girl that was sexually assaulted in this tunnel, and she was set on fire to get rid of the evidence. So that's another story. And then there's another story of the father brought this daughter down and ended up killing her or whatever it was. But so I was standing in, it was close to the end of the investigation. And I asked the question, did you die in here? And I got on the SB7, yeah. And then right after that, it said burnt from home on the SB7.
Do
With,
is
go ahead.
is that the one you think that's on your back?
No, 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 no.
Oh.
No, no, no. This the one that I think I got on my back. I was in the UK for a month back in March, and
Oh,
I
is
did
that
11 investigations. Yeah.
but I kept hearing, I don't know. I thought it was one of those from the that burned.
No. The second, I think it was either the
Maybe you bring
second.
them all home, Brian. I don't know.
It's always possible. Who knows?
Probably
But I try to
they're
do
like an
that.
orphanage for
I
children
try to
spirits.
do the protective bubble. I use a flower because I think flowers are peaceful. So I try to use a flower
So they're
bubble around me.
attracted to it and they come home with you.
Maybe. So that's always
Oh my
possible.
goodness.
And I just so when I got that, and that was, it's almost like it was telling me the story that the girl, that she was severely burned in her home, she came running down the tunnel, she died. And that seems like that's the actual story, because to get that on your SB7, burnt from home,
Hmm.
I think that says a lot. So yeah, you're just you're in all kinds of thought right now. There's a lot going on here, isn't there?
Because there's a lot of girls around you, like younger. So I don't know. Um, but aside from that, so that is that what made you passionate about starting, founding Parapost and obviously the um, global ghost. Oh my God! Why? See, I can't talk. Global ghost hunt.
Yeah.
They're like there's things standing behind you, and they're not letting me let me talk.
So really, it really all started with huntophobia. So a couple of years ago, when COVID first started and it was really, ramping up, um, I was really thinking about, I really wanted to start doing investigations on my own. And
Right.
I really wanted to start filming my own stuff. Now, these other investigations that I was going on, like you, they were filming it, they were capturing it, but they weren't really sharing it out. Um, I really thought, I was sitting back watching something on YouTube, and I said, you know what, I really want to start doing my own stuff, and that's really how Huntophobia started at the March of 2020, or yeah, 2020.
Oh, just I wasn't saying. Um,
Oh, I know what you're saying. I
I
know
was
what you're
saying
saying.
I wasn't sharing the things that happened in my own life
Yeah,
publicly because I didn't feel like I needed to prove my
yeah,
skills of my
yeah.
own life. Anyways,
Yeah. So really, that's how it really started for me, the huntophobia. So then I started doing my own investigations, and and then I thought, okay, well, I want to start putting this up some places. So I started putting it on YouTube. So Parapost Network really started. Well, it was a year ago, a year and a half ago, at the beginning of 2021, where I was just scrolling through Facebook. I was all kinds of different platforms I was scrolling through, and I really took a step back, and I was thinking, you know what? This industry of the paranormal and everything under the umbrella is really, really, really popular. There's a lot of people that do it, and but we didn't really have a place that we can go to other paranormal investigators, whether it's even UFO stuff or cryptid stuff or anything those. And I found, like, I was going on to these platforms, and to be honest, and I think we can all agree on this, that a lot of the stuff on there is crap. And on the Facebooks, on the Twitters, and all those stuff. Yeah, I hear that.
where
It's like a
these aren't
beeping
on.
noise.
These aren't on. No, it was like music just came on,
Oh,
but
really?
it's
Because I was
like,
hearing a beeping.
but it's not in my headphones, and it's not. These aren't on.
Interesting.
Sorry.
So yeah, no worries. So, and I was just finding all kinds of different crap, and then the drama, and then the everything, and I was searching for groups on Facebook, and there was like thousands and thousands of groups of paranormal that were what I was interested in. So it's something that was in the back of my head, thinking about, well, maybe there should be a platform for this, like the paranormal and everything under the umbrella. So I ended up taking it to a friend of mine and said, "What do you think?" He goes, "Let's do it." So we did some research. We got a template. We put it up there, and we got a little bit of buzz for it. Um, but I'll be honest, the template that we had was it was crap. It was crap. And the guy that I was working with, he was a tech guy, so he was really good with behind the scenes, like websites and stuff like that, like WordPress and all those things. And so he was really doing the background. I was up front. So, and we started getting a little bit of buzz about it. So we figured if we're gonna do it, let's go full force on this. Let's get a good platform because the
Right.
platform like I was saying, it was just horrible. And so I ended up putting an ad out for a developer. Somebody contacted me. His name is Jordan. He's the one that takes care of the back of the site. And so I brought him on. He built the site, and we did a soft launch like around the beginning of May of last year. And then we did our full launch in the beginning of June. So it's been just a little over a year, and
Wow.
yeah, and really that's how Parapost Network started. And it's been growing, and lately it's been growing a lot. Like we're getting new users every day now,
Yeah.
which is great. And so I really wanted people to come over to a platform where they weren't judged. First
Mhm.
things first, about their evidence, about whatever they captured, whether it's
Right.
paranormal, UFOs, or whatever. And they weren't judged for that because you can go to a lot of these videos and you look at some of the comments and they're just atrocious on some of these, some comments people leave on these videos. So really the site, and I'm proud of this up to this point, there's been absolutely no, and it's hard to believe, no drama on the site. None.
Well, so and here's the thing, that we were talking about before, like i- in the paranormal field, it's absurd to me to think of other researchers as competition because uh, it's like you and I'm halfway across the US, but sometimes we figure out um the answer to something um based on both of our experience or both of our research, whatever, that has been a puzzle for a long time, you know what I mean? So so that's one reason, because then you get the expertise and the opinion and the different perspective of other researchers, which is amazing because it's like with videos and stuff. I put those up sometimes because if you stare at the same some video you captured and you look at it over and over and you're like, what is this saying? And then the second somebody else listens to it or watches it, they're like, oh, it's this or whatever. And it's something that because we look at things so long or whatever that we didn't even consider. And then that helps as well. But also, aside from those things, there's enough spirits in this world for everyone, man. I mean,
Mm,
like
yeah,
researchers right now, we could do this for the rest of our lives, all of us, and we still wouldn't even begin to touch the amount of history in
exactly.
this world. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
yeah, I find it really interesting because I was watching a video on YouTube, and it was a guy that's in here in Canada, and the place that he was at was really cool. I thought it was really, really interesting. So I reached out to him and I asked him where that place was because he didn't say the place in the video.
right.
And he wrote back to me and he said, "Oh no, I can't tell you that."
Hmm,
Well, why not? Like it's open to, it's not as well. First of all, I said, "Is it your place?"
right.
But it's just stuff like that, that is really frustrating. And I find that paranormal investigators are really, really territorial,
Which
and
is
it's
weird.
just weird.
Well, I think that people should branch out more and not just investigate places like tourists. You know what I mean? Like don't go to all the main places. While yes, I have been pulled to intuitively to places that have a lot of activity and such. But I also go to places that no one's ever heard of. You know what I mean? Like I feel like more people should try to branch out on things that or on places that aren't in the mainstream because if they're intuitively guided there, it's for a reason, and they would probably capture more evidence um, than if you go to a place that everybody's already seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, for
but
sure.
but a lot of the younger, I don't mean younger as in age, younger as in, I guess, beginner is a better word. Researchers think that I don't know why there's this whole, I don't know, opinion that only those places are haunted, because that's not true. Like
No.
everywhere is.
And well, I can tell you that much. It's definitely no because I was doing one investigation. We were going to a bridge, and we went to the wrong bridge because there were two bridges in the same area.
Yeah,
There was one bridge over here. It was called Bailey's Bridge, and we've talked about this before, the Bailey's Bridge and the
yeah.
Sewell's Bridge. And we went to Sewell's Bridge thinking it was Bailey's Bridge.
Mhm.
And I was ecstatic that we did because there was so much going on at that bridge, like underneath it. It's scary for the normal person that would go there and not experienced in paranormal because there is so much going on there. Like the very first time I was there, my son was touched in the back of his neck, which scared the life out of him. And
Well,
it's
and
crazy.
that's the one that you had, that you went live on, right?
No, no, the one I
Was
went
that
live
the
on
was the
was,
other one?
it was Lions Valley. This one is, and there's no name for that bridge.
Okay.
It's just, the Lions Valley is the actual, place where people can go and have family picnics and gatherings down there, and people can walk the 16-mile trail
Okay.
and, the water right there. So that bridge is just going over the water. There's no name for that bridge, but the place is actually called Lions Valley Park. So
Huh.
it's a huge area for local people that go to this. Like it's been around for years because I used to go there as a kid with my family. So
And I guess for people that don't know, that's a good place. Speaking of investigators and people that want to go into different places, that's a good place to start. Anywhere near elements, so train tracks and bridges and water, and because spirits are always attracted to bodies of water,
mm.
but they can get trapped there too, like the bridges.
Well, and I didn't say this in the video in the live, and it's actually really sad. There if In order to get down in this valley, you got to go down a real steep hill. Now at the
Right.
top of that steep hill there is a graveyard, and it's right along the edge of the side of the cliff. Now what's really sad about that, the cliff is disintegrating and it's falling apart. Well, there have been people there that have actually seen coffins floating down the water
Oof.
that came out of the ground from up above. So there was even I don't know if I did it on the live on when I was on Facebook or TikTok, but I asked if there was anybody from the graveyard,
I,
and it sounded like we caught a yeah on the
I think
SB7,
it was TikTok, because I kept hearing different names and something about washed up on shore.
and that might be the unfortunately the coffins that are floating down the stream from coming out from that side of the cliff,
That's
which is
crazy.
it's really sad to be
It
honest.
is.
Like, so I don't even know how you deal with that, to be honest. It's not like that. I think that graveyard's been there since the 1600s, so 1700s, somewhere around there. And what do? You just can't move them, and you can't even control the side of the cliff from disintegrating basically or falling apart. So they don't really have a lot of choices.
Well, here, and I don't know if they do that in Canada, also, but here, when they would build man-made reservoirs and dams and things like that, um, a lot of times they would do it over entire towns, and sorry, my cat here.
No, it's okay.
They would do it over entire towns and move the headstones, but not not
Yeah.
the actual caskets, which is really sad as well. So they would cover these entire cemeteries um with water, with reservoirs, but their headstones would be somewhere else, and who knows what kind of hauntings that
Yeah.
causes.
And there's another place that I go to. It's about an hour and a half. It's about an hour from me. It's called the Blue Ghost Tunnel, and that's also got some sad history to it as well. When they built the tunnel back in 1900, um, in order to build the tunnel, they had to move a canal.
Oh,
Now, when they moved that canal, they flooded a graveyard, and that graveyard had 900 burials in it.
ooh.
And to this day, it's still underwater. So if you go at a certain point of day when it's really sunny, you can actually see the headstones underneath the water.
But I'm wondering, since this has happened in so many places across the world for that matter, and years ago, I remember I wrote it down, like I wrote it down numerous times, automatic writing and channeling and stuff. Where I say, burn all the bridges and drain all the rivers, and you'll discover the truth. And I'm like, that's interesting. I at the
Mm,
time I was thinking of like London bridges, and I was thinking of like all these things, but eh, I don't believe in coincidence like you.
no.
So there's got to be something to that. If you go back to Egyptian times and like the Book of the Dead and things like that, I'll have to research this. There's something about burying graveyards in water. Like there's something to this. And the fact that it's happened in so many,
Yeah. Yeah. It's happened a lot.
and that we
And
brought it up. Like that's
yeah,
significant. So,
yeah, true. And the place like that's sad enough. Like that's sad that that happened. But then on even on top of that, the construction of building this tunnel, because it was going to
mhm,
be used for trains. And
right.
during the building of this tunnel, 107 people died.
Oh,
And then when they
probably
did it,
because they buried the graveyard.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
yeah. And then when it did finally open, and it was only open, I think, for about 10 years, and then they closed it, which is really sad because they went through all that and buried a graveyard. But when it opened, there was an actual train crash that killed two people. And like the place just has so much bad history.
right,
And you walk into this tunnel, and like it's happened every single time when I've gone in there, and you hear it with your own ears. Like I took some people down there last year. We walked in and everyone heard it. It said get out. And it said get out twice. And
hmm,
there was nobody in the tunnel except us, because at the other end that's where the canal is and the water, and so nobody can get in it from the other end. But
look like that's still.
it's a real sad history, and a lot of the times these paranormal investigations, you do stumble upon a lot of bad history
Hmm.
on on some of these places. So
And I wonder if it traps them, if it traps the souls, because if you have a haunted house, for instance, and you're trying an easy way to um get rid of the spirits, and that, not get rid of them, transfer them somewhere else,
mm,
is to use like a jar of water, a bowl of water, something, and they're drawn to water, so they get trapped in that, and you can move them to a different location. That's been around, and especially in different voodoo and witchcraft and everything
mm,
forever, mediumship. Um, so by doing that to a graveyard, I would think that the lingering souls that are there, it traps them as well, which would cause a lot of accidents and everything else. So shipwrecks, you name it. I mean, train wrecks, whatever.
mm, mm. Yeah, it's a lot of the places that I've been to have had some sad history, unfortunately, and sometimes it's a little bit tough to do the investigations, especially
Hmm.
knowing some of the history. And for example, that little girl that I think came through on the SP7 saying "burnt from home." As much as that was a great capture, it was still upsetting.
Yeah.
And um, I try, and when I go in an investigation, I try to be very, very respectful. I never, ever, ever provoke, and I just don't believe in that stuff. I go into investigations with respect and dignity, and knowing that I'm walking in there, going to respect them, going to respect the place they're in, because obviously it's important to them, and that's why they're there.
Right.
So my stick, I guess you can call it, I always introduce myself at the beginning of any investigation, and for some reason that seems to work for me, because I do get a lot of communication back, because when I do stuff like that, like a lot of times, like the video just came out on PARAFLIXX for the start of my third season. I was very, very respectful, and it actually spoke to me. It actually said my name and was caught on camera.
I was gonna say they already know you're coming, but it's still good to do that just because, it's just it's the same as like with people the living, I
Mm,
already knew you were coming on my show, but I'm still gonna be like, welcome to my show, Brian.
yeah,
It's just nice to it
yeah.
it creates a non-defensive um
Exactly,
entrance.
exactly. And I find it interesting. Lex always, my co-host on Through the Lens, um, he always says, "Would you ever walk into a coffee shop and start yelling at somebody to bring you
Right.
a coffee?"
That's what I was gonna say. You
No.
don't walk into anywhere, like demanding, I command you to
Yeah.
turn on this light or move. Okay. They're gonna be
Yeah,
like, okay, now
yeah,
let's really
whatever.
mess with this dude and like somebody scratch him, please, please.
It's
Like,
funny.
cause
I've been into a lot of locations and homes and stuff like that. I don't think I think I've only asked once in my 10 years to turn on a light. I've never asked a spirit to turn on a light. Why?
well,
Why would
and
I
that's my
ask a
thing.
spirit to turn
Like,
on a light?
and they find it rather insulting as well because here's the thing, if you have the ability to ask spirits anything you want to ask, anything in the world, and all you want them to do is like, well, perform basically,
Yeah.
and instead of like I want to know the answers to things. I want to know
Yeah.
um
Did you
not
see me
just
just move back there?
mm,
Did you I just saw what looked like a finger go across my eye.
really.
Yeah.
Maybe that's I closed my eyes right then. Maybe that was
Yeah,
on
it
purpose.
it
I don't
almost
know.
looked like a finger went right in front of my eye. That's why I went
There's
back like
like
that,
weird
because it
stuff
looked like a
going on,
finger.
man.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
Brian, we unfortunately we are out of time. We lost an hour there.
Yeah, I didn't even get to talk
Lost
to
an
the
hour to
global
the
about the
void.
global ghost hunt.
Oh, I'll just have to have you on again.
Yeah.
Yes. So, real quick, tell everyone where they can find you as
Okay.
far as for the Global Ghost Hunt. I did post those
Yeah.
um, on all the pages, but go ahead.
So, Global Ghost Hunt is going to be an event that's going to happen next year, May and of October next year. So it's really our first annual. It's You can sign up your teams or register your teams if you want to do a haunted location. It's going to be a 10-day event. You can go over to www.globalghosthunt.com. You can register your team if you have a paranormal investigation team. You register your team, you put in your haunted location, and you'll be able to be part of this event next year. Huntaphobia, you can find Huntaphobia on YouTube, but it's mainly clips and some videos. Yeah, there's a lot of videos on there, but it's mainly been clips recently. But my actual videos go on to a streaming service called PARAFLIXX. .com. You can download it through iOS or Android. It is a subscription service, but I'll give your viewers this if they want to sign up. they can use the code PARAPOST25 and they'll get 25% off their first year.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So basically, that's going to cost you about $2 a month, and you'll get all the paranormal you want. And it's just like Netflix, but it's for the paranormal. So you can also download Parapost Network. It's a platform for paranormal investigators. Everything underneath the umbrella: paranormal investigators, UFOs, cryptids, supernatural. And if you're an enthusiast, you can go over there and watch people's videos, see their evidence, see pictures, and just interact with all kinds of different paranormal investigators and all those wonderful things. Um, did that just come up by you? That did just come up by you.
What?
Parapost
I typed
25.
that.
Yeah, Parapost 20. Now that would be freaking if somebody else type that.
No,
So
I typed it.
yeah, I know.
It just wouldn't post on Facebook, but
Yeah. So, and I also do a vodcast called Through the Lens with Brian and Lex. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook and all those things. I do have a Facebook page. It's called Parapost Network Central, where the missing piece is on, as well as
yeah.
many other podcasts or vodcasts that you can go over and watch. And you just go over to Parapost Network Central, where you're going to see all kinds of different uh, what do I say? Vodcast. Trying to get away from the word podcast, because really at the end of the day, it's a vodcast when it's video, right? So, and you can,
Chasing Prophecy is on there as well.
yeah, Chasing Prophecy is on
Okay.
there as well. You can find me on TikTok under HUNTAPHOBIA. You can find Global Ghost Hunt on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and all those wonderful places, and Parapost Network Central and the Parapost app,
How do you remember all
which
this?
which you can download through iOS or Android. If you were,
Yes.
and it's free. It's free. So it's just like a social media platform, and you just go over and create an account, download it through iOS or Android, and that's it. And you can start interacting with other investigators. Yeah,
So if you all have any questions for Brian, um, we might have to like
I think I
schedule
might have to.
something
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
during the week or some other time to make up for that that lost hour there, so we can kind of go over that more
yeah.
over what you're doing now. Um,
Yes.
but otherwise, thank you all for joining us. We apologize for the technical issues we've had here. There's a lot of supernatural stuff going on
Mm,
lately,
yes.
but I hope everyone stays safe. Thank you for listening, watching. Obviously, this will be rebroadcast on all of UPRN's links, as well as everywhere you get your podcasts. So have a good week, and you can join me back here next week at 8 p.m. Central Time. Well, hopefully, if we get this system figured out, 8 p.m. Central
Well,
Time.
Brian won't be there, so you'll be okay.
Right? This happens. Like it always happens.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank
Good
you for
night.
joining us.
Thank you for having me.